Alrighty, good afternoon, evening, depending on how you call it, everybody. Up, Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater. We have a tornado warning that is extended now into northwestern portions of Fayette County. So this is barely touching into Fayette County, but this thunderstorm continuing to race its way quickly down to the south and east. This is a significant storm, folks. We're talking about a supercell thunderstorm that has been tracking now for a couple of hours from portions of Ohio, continuing to drag its way down to the south and east. This is about to cross the Charleston corridor, but again, the tornado warning extends down into northwestern parts of Fayette County, and this will eventually scoot its way toward portions of Nicholas and northern Fayette counties. We've been watching this supercell for quite some time. Again, a history of golf ball size hail already with this thunderstorm. So if you are in the path of this, if you know anybody right now that is in Kanawha County, that's in this warning, at a minimum, have them cover their cars up if they can, because this is quite the hailmaker. You can see the purples, the blacks as this works its way. Again, generally speaking, slowly but surely to the south and east. Let's put this into motion here so that we can take a look at this. This is a thunderstorm. Again, you can see the black showing up here. That is where we're likely seeing the large hail with this, but now this thunderstorm is rotating. The supercell thunderstorm is interacting with what we call wind shear close to the surface. So we're seeing a lot of change in wind direction with height. And again, this continuing to work its way generally to the east to southeast. So this is going to kind of ride down eventually toward portions of northern Fayette and southern Nicholas counties. Now, Nicholas County, you're not in the warning just yet, but I do think eventually, if this thing can continue to rotate, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't, you will eventually be in the path of this as it continues to work its way down to the south and east. So, again, a tornado warning for portions of Kanawha, but specifically for our region, northwestern portions of Fayette County. Just kind of touches parts of Fayette County for now. I would not be surprised if we see more of the county being covered by this here shortly. Let's switch over to links 2 and talk about what we can expect here as we head into this evening. So we have a severe thunderstorm watch, and that continues through 11 o'clock for the entire region. So it doesn't matter if you're in McDowell County, if you're at Tazewell or Bland or Mercer or Raleigh counties, over towards Summers, Monroe, Greenbrier, up to the north. There's the tornado warning in the red that you see there. And again, that barely touches portions of Fayette County. This is going to 11 o'clock for the severe thunderstorm watch. The tornado warning continues until 6 p.m. For northwestern parts of Fayette County. So if that gets extended, of course, we'll stay on here. We do have the normally scheduled newscast, of course, coming up at 6 o'clock. So we will watch that continue to work its way down to the south and east. Now, as we head into this evening, the risk for severe weather does continue, and that is something we're going to be watching very closely. For a lot of areas, it's a slight risk, but as we zoom in to parts of West Virginia, it is an enhanced risk for severe weather here as we head into this evening. This is not the type of risk that is issued very often here in the Mountain State. I think in our region, since I've been down here, I'm going on about 3 years, and we've probably had maybe 3 or 4 of these. So this is not something that we see that often, maybe 1 to 2 times a year on average. The last time I remember this being issued was back in August. We had an enhanced risk, but this is a level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather. This is a type of severe weather risk you definitely want to take seriously here. This is where we're talking about an enhanced probability for severe weather. And in particular, we're talking about damaging wind gusts, but the threats don't end there. We're looking at a risk for tornadoes, including especially farther up to the north. Now, we have to understand what this map specifically means. 5% where you see the brown, that's the higher area. That doesn't mean there's a 5% chance of seeing a tornado in your town. It means there's a 5% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of your town. That's how they determine these percentages, the Storm Prediction Center. But you can see that the higher risk for tornadoes is farther up to the north. And the reason for this is because of a warm front that is sliding up to our north and east. Perhaps the biggest threat for sure here this evening is going to be the risk for damaging wind gusts. And these thunderstorms that are popping up in parts of Ohio and northern Kentucky and working their way into the region, they're not really showing any signs of weakening as they move into our region because of the robust dynamic setup that we have in place here for these thunderstorms this evening. So this is a 30% chance that we'll see some damaging wind gusts basically in the northern half of our region today. That risk does lower somewhat the farther south that you go toward southern parts of West Virginia into portions of Virginia. And then we also have the risk for hail. This might be an underrated threat, though, for this evening, because we've already had some supercell thunderstorms up into parts of northeastern Kentucky, crossing into western portions of West Virginia that have had a history of producing golf ball size hail. So again, this is a big deal when you start talking about that, because that can cause issues in terms of damage, right? You leave your vehicle out when there's golf ball size hail taking place, and that would be enough to perhaps bust some windshields, for example. So we'll be watching that very closely as well. Some of these thunderstorms are also going to be very efficient in producing some heavy downpours. And so with that being said, the potential is there for some flash flooding. It is a very low risk overall, a marginal risk, but we cannot rule it out completely. And again, the best threat for this, the highest threat for this, is going to be farther up to the north, where we are expected to see more in the way of those scattered showers and thunderstorms. Now we take a look at what's going on. We have this front that's straight back to our west. We call this area under the warm front and ahead of the cold front. We call this the unstable sector of the system, right? We have this cold front that is approaching from our west, and you can see these thunderstorms, these robust thunderstorms that are forming along this and scooting off to the east. And that's the concern here as we head into this evening. We've just basically reached the peak of our heating for the day, and so these thunderstorms are really kind of, I always think of the Pac-Man monster, right? They're really just gobbling up all the energy in the atmosphere currently, and that's what's allowing these thunderstorms to flourish. But again, as we look at Predictor and we head into this evening, the risk for severe weather will continue. Notice that it is up to our north initially, but this will start to fill in farther down to the south as we head into tonight. So you see the reds, you see the purple showing up here. That's where we're looking at the potential for strong to severe thunderstorms being possible here. And that will continue to be the trend here as we head into tonight through about midnight or so. That's when we'll start to see that risk for severe weather finally wane, as that cold front that I was talking about is allowed to finally exit the region from northwest to southeast. So you were watching meteorologist Bradley Wells a little earlier talking about that threat for severe weather, and now it is starting to become a reality as those thunderstorms begin to work their way into the region. Then as we head toward Tuesday, it's just cool, it's just gloomy. Those temperatures will be held down into the 40s and low 50s, and we may even see a few snowflakes mix in here as we head into the overnight hours. Thankfully, we haven't seen any power outages or anything like that here at this point, so that is good. Hopefully that trend will continue. But let's go ahead and switch back over to Lynx 1 here, and we'll take a look at the latest with that thunderstorm that is, again, continuing to work its way down to the south and east. And again, the reason that we have broken into coverage is because this tornado warning does include northwestern parts of Fayette County. So what we're going to do here is we'll zoom in on this thunderstorm that is currently across the Kanawha Valley, and this is kind of working its way over from the west to the east, or from the western portions of the county to the east here, and basically has shown a lot of signs of rotation. That's why the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued that tornado warning. And let's zoom on in here just for a bit. I'm going to take a couple of our in-house things off so that we can see this a little bit more. Look at all of the lightning with this. The lightning with this is insane. We're talking 200-300 strikes of lightning with this single storm as it worked its way down to the south and east. So again, if you are in central parts of Kanawha County, eastern parts of Kanawha County, if you know anybody in these areas, they need to take cover. That is for sure. And then again, the tornado warning continues and extends into our region, just into that northwestern sliver of Fayette County. If you're in Golly Bridge, you might as well take cover, because this storm has not really shown any signs of weakening or anything like that here at this juncture. I was checking, went off a screen just for a moment to see if there was any reports of any funnels. We have not had that yet, so that is certainly some good news. But again, this has been a severe thunderstorm that has been tracking for a couple of hours out of portions of Ohio, and has now worked its way into parts of West Virginia. So I'm going to zoom out. Again, I'm going to take the lightning off just because there's so much lightning with this. It's really hard to see the storm. Let's pause this just for a moment and take a look. So the issue at hand here is basically right over the capital city. There is a little bit of a notch there, right there on downtown Charleston. And again, this is working its way toward the south and east. So this is headed toward our region into portions of northwestern Fayette County, into western parts of Nicholas County. And this storm has a history of producing some very large hailstones. We'll zoom on out here, and this is not it in terms of the severe weather already. So let's take a look at this. And again, we have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings farther up to the north and west, and the overall trend is that we're going to continue to see this threat evolve and head farther down to the south as time progresses. So we have this initial supercell that is working its way through the Kanawha Valley and is going to be scraping into our region over the next half hour or so, and then we look farther back to the west and we have more activity farther back to the west into parts of Ohio. So we have more. This is looking more like the potential for some damaging wind gusts that's currently across portions of Ohio, northern parts of Kentucky. That's over into Lewis County, Kentucky. Let's say Adams County, Ohio, western portions of Scioto County, Ohio. These will all kind of work their way into the same areas and arc a bit as they do. So this would mean eventually in the next 2 to 3 hours, this would move into portions of Nicholas and perhaps Fayette counties once again. And you may be wondering, maybe you're a little farther down to the south, right? And you're saying, well, I'm under the severe thunderstorm watch, but I'm not really seeing any activity yet. Patience is a virtue. We will see these thunderstorms start to work their way into more of our region as we head into this evening. But again, the reason that we have broken into this newscast is because of the immediate threat, which is this tornado warning, which is currently a supercell that is right over downtown Charleston, but continues to work into and towards portions of Fayette and Nicholas counties in our region. If you were anywhere between, let's say about, I would say, over toward Muddlety and maybe Birch River, point south all the way to about Gauley Bridge, anywhere along this area, I would be keeping a very close eye on this, perhaps going ahead and heading into your shelter ahead of time, because this is a thunderstorm that means business. This thing is not messing around here. And again, we'll zoom back in and take a look at this as we look at the dynamics that's at play here. You can kind of just see that spinning notation with this as it works its way now, again, into downtown Charleston, working its way into the south and east. The hail portion of this storm is where you see the bright purples, where you see the black colors showing up here. So this is going to be, this is right in my home turf, actually. I used to live right in this area. So this is up toward Yeager Airport, for example, or up toward Big Chimney in Mink Shoals there in portions of Kanawha County. But this is, again, continuing to head to our south and east. And again, the reason that we are cutting in is because of this section of Fayette County that is under the tornado warning. This is going to continue to head off to the south and east. It's moving at about 50 miles per hour. So the next towns in line with this is going to be out into parts of eastern Kanawha County along Route 60. So you start to think about towns such as just north of the Cedar Grove area. For example, I think of Putney, and out toward Mammoth and Kelly's Creek and areas like that. There, maybe out toward Pond Gap, eventually toward Armstrong Creek, and then this will then enter portions of Fayette County. So downstream of this, we're talking about Gauley Bridge. We've got Glen Ferris over here. This is going to be an area that we're going to have to watch very closely. It'll be a very close call in these areas. If you're in the Dixie area, definitely want to probably go ahead and take shelter here, right? Because this tornado warning is right on your doorstep. And even if they decide, even if the National Weather Service decides not to extend this tornado warning and they issue a severe thunderstorm warning instead, this is a dangerous storm. And we were showing the lightning counter just a few moments ago. We've just with this storm, we're talking about 200 to 300 strikes of lightning. That's not just like little rumbles, right? We're talking about strikes of lightning. So big time thunderstorm. We don't see these kind of storms in our neck of the woods that often. So what I'm going to do is pause this here for just a moment and look at the latest with this. We'll put the tracker, well actually, there we go. And as we do so, let's pop that up. So this is headed again eventually toward the Bentry area. So I start thinking about our folks along Route 16. So when we think about Route 16, getting south of the Lismores area there in Clay County, heading into portions of Nicholas County briefly. So we have, of course, Bentry, you have Lismores, and then farther down to the south, you head into Dixie. And then kind of dumps out there at Golly Bridge, there where the two rivers meet to create the Kanawha River. This is going to all be an area we're going to have to watch very closely here over the next 20 to 30 minutes as this thunderstorm continues to show signs of rotation. Now, it's hard to see that rotation because the supercell is right over the radar dome in Charleston. That radar dome is right here, by the way. So it's very hard to see where this rotation is at the moment. But we'll move east of that here over the next few minutes. And again, eventually we'll have to start talking about some more towns in Fayette County and Nicholas County, perhaps out toward Kessler's Cross Lanes, perhaps out toward Mount Nebo, perhaps even out toward Summersville, and perhaps as far down south as about the Hyco and Anstead areas as this thunderstorm continues to head down to the south and east. Again, it's moving very quickly at about 50 miles per hour, so it's not going to take long for it to enter these areas. It's already now to the east of the Kanawha Valley. So again, it's already moved through downtown Charleston. This is now already scooting in the eastern portions of Kanawha County. And again, we'll be on the doorstep of our area here in just a bit. And our in-house product is showing some very impressive values with this. Again, even without the rotation even being considered, we're talking about our in-house algorithm suggesting 2.5-inch diameter hail. So you think about that, right? A baseball is about 2 3/4 diameter. So we're talking about just under baseball size hail that is being estimated with this supercell. Currently, that's going to be out toward about the Rutledge area, Campbell's Creek, Point Lick, those areas. If you know anybody that's out that way, if you have any friends and family, and again, if you are watching just down to the south and east of this, down toward the Bentry and Dixie areas, I would definitely be watching this closely. Go ahead and get into your safe spot if you can. So if you are, for example, in a mobile home, get as many walls between you and yourself, or you and the outside, as much as you can. If you have a basement, head down into the basement. That would definitely be the best area that you could head to. So what we're going to do here real quickly, if we could, we're going to switch back over to Links 2 and kind of take a look at the overall picture once again. And again, it is a severe thunderstorm watch for the entire area. And this goes until 11 p.m. We're going to kind of switch back and forth here with what we can expect here as we head into this evening. And again, this is a setup that is definitely conducive for the development of thunderstorms. We only have one severe thunderstorm that is impacting or about to impact our region right now, and that's why we are breaking into coverage. It is across Kanawha County. It is about to push into portions of Fayette County. So again, we will stay on here until this tornado warning is allowed to expire. If it is extended farther downstream to portions of northern Fayette and Nicholas counties, we will remain on here. But again, for now, that is the only thunderstorm in our region that is severe. However, we are expecting more in the way of severe weather as we head into this evening. So this is not something to mess around with. Again, for a lot of areas, it's a slight risk, but we zoom in into our region, and it is higher than that, a level 3 out of 5. The orange doesn't show up very often. Now, this also kind of shows you which areas are most likely to see severe weather, which are the areas that are kind of under concern in the near term in portions of Fayette and Nicholas County. So this does include Fayette and Nicholas and in northern portions of Greenbrier and up into parts of Pocahontas counties. And if you think about it, that's kind of the general direction that this supercell is going to be working towards over the next hour to 2 hours. If it can hold together, it would definitely work its way into portions of Greenbrier County. So we'll watch that closely for you. Now, farther down to the south, no, we're not seeing much in the way of activity just yet, but that does not mean that our threat for severe weather is over. In fact, our threat for severe weather will continue all the way until about midnight tonight, and that's when we'll finally start to see things begin to relax. But as we go through some of these different threats, these different thresholds, the thing to consider is just because you're not in the highest area does not mean you're not going to see severe weather. So, for example, the tornado threat, 5% shade up in our northern half of our region into portions of Pocahontas and western portions of Greenbrier, Nicholas, and Oak, and Fayette County, and northern parts of Raleigh County. 2%. We don't see 2% issuances very often even in our neck of the woods. So the fact that we have areas that are even higher than that, and kind of in the local weather community of meteorologists and folks, we kind of call this the avocado. It looks like an avocado when you look at it because there's a bullseye. If we zoomed out here, there's kind of a bullseye of brown that's surrounded by the green. So we kind of call this the avocado, right? So maybe a little bit of humor there. But again, the fact that we have a 2% shade even in the southern half, or the most of our southern half, is pretty impressive. This was the kind of setup that we have here in our region. But again, the farther north in our region that you are, the better chance that we will see the potential for severe weather. So again, if you're in Beckley, still watching for that threat for severe weather. If you're in Welch, we're still watching that threat for severe weather. If you're in Union, we're still watching that threat for severe weather. It's just going to come at a later time for you. For now, the risk is immediate farther up to our north and west, currently in Kanawha County, extending into portions of Fayette County. And again, also that hail threat, which again, I think might be a little bit underrated here this afternoon and evening, might be a little higher than 10% in some areas, because we're seeing some big-time hail with that supercell that's in Kanawha County pushing toward Fayette County right now. Then again, some of these storms will have the potential of producing some very heavy rain. So we're talking about some very efficient thunderstorms. Now, the good news in this department is that these storms are moving rather quickly. So we're not looking at the training of thunderstorms that kind of move over the same grounds and drop 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. We're not looking at that here for this evening. Thankfully, these thunderstorms are moving quickly. That supercell in Kanawha County that has portions of Fayette County tornado warned right now is moving at 50 miles per hour. So it's not moving slowly. And this front is not moving slowly either. You can see how quickly over the last 3 hours it has crossed. It's gone from the Cincinnati area all the way to about halfway to the Ohio River in the last 3 hours. So I think in about 6 hours or so, our severe weather will be completely gone. But again, we got to look at this for predictor and notice that initially here at 6, 7 o'clock, that threat for severe weather is greatest with that supercell. Our in-house product is saying this storm is not going to weaken as it moves into portions of Greenbrier and Pocahontas counties. So we'll have to watch that, and then notice that the threat for severe weather then starts to increase farther down to the south and west across southern parts of West Virginia. As the evening progresses, you see the oranges, you see the reds. That's where we're talking about some heavy downpours. That's where we're talking about the risk for severe weather and perhaps some brief heavy rain to go along with that. And that threat does continue, again, until about midnight. That's when we start to see these storms exit, and then we're left with just some shower activity as we head toward 2, 3 o'clock as that cold front is allowed to work its way out of the region. And then behind this is just going to be some plain cold air that we're going to see, some much cooler air, as a matter of fact, that we'll be seeing as we work our way into Tuesday. In fact, this storm, or this system, is going to be responsible for producing some light snow showers even across the West Virginia mountains, and that will perhaps even leave a dusting or so of snow in these spots up about 4,000 feet or so. So again, kind of a crazy setup that we're going to be looking at over the next half hour, or next couple of days, I should say. So again, if we could now, we'll switch back over to Links 1 and look at the latest with this storm. Again, the reason that we're cutting in is because we have a tornado warning that extends barely into portions of Fayette County. It looks like this has been allowed to be shrunk back just a bit. So that is certainly some good news. And for now, it appears that Fayette County has actually been taken out of the warning. So that's great. We're going to stay on here for a few minutes, only because we'll see if a new tornado warning is issued at 6 o'clock. So we'll stay on until that determination is made. But there is that thunderstorm, again, working its way out of Kanawha County. We initially had this tornado warning extended into portions of Fayette County. That has since been chopped back just a bit. But again, we'll stay on here until 6 o'clock, until our regularly scheduled newscast begins to transpire. And we'll see if a new tornado warning is issued. But again, this has been a beast of a storm that has worked its way down to the south and east. And if you are in the Dixie, if you're in the Bentry areas, western portions of Nicholas County, even northern portions of Fayette County, this is a heck of a hailmaker. So we're talking about the potential for some golf ball size or larger hailstones taking place with this storm. So with that being said, if you are able to, maybe bring your car indoors. Maybe if you've got a garage and your car's sitting outside, just go ahead real quickly and bring that thing in before this storm gets in here, because it'll be right on your doorstep, for example, in the Dixie area in the next 10 to 15 minutes at a max. If you're in Golly Bridge, the worst of this looks to be remaining just to your north, but it's a close call, right? This is going to be kind of straddling right along the Fayette and Nicholas County border over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So again, this will continue to kind of meander that border and then move towards Summersville Lake. So if you're watching this, if you know anybody that's out towards Summersville Lake at this point, this is not a storm you want to be out on the lake on, because again, we're looking at 200 to 300 lightning strikes with this supercell thunderstorm as it works its way down to the south and east. Now, I will say, in the last few scans, the one good thing with this storm is that it seems to be losing its rotation as it scoots down to the south and east. However, you still see the black color, the bright purples. That's what we call a hail core. So that's going to be over very rural areas of eastern Kanawha County, and that is going to be crossing over into Nicholas County literally within the next 10 minutes or so. So that part of the storm still means business big time. But again, this is a thunderstorm that is producing some very heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning, and again, heading to the south and east at about 50 miles per hour. Let's put those trackers, let's see if we can get this to pause. We'll put the trackers back up here so we can show you which towns are going to be impacted by this next year. And this includes the Mount Olive area, for example, over the next 5 to 10 minutes. If this were to continue its trajectory and not lose any of its strength, this would be causing some big impacts to areas such as the Mount Nebo area out toward perhaps Summersville. That's a fairly large town, of course, one of the bigger towns in the northern half of our region. That would be an area that could be impacted by this. And again, even if they don't reissue this tornado warning, the current one has been allowed to expire, but we're going to watch and see if a new warning is issued here momentarily before we throw it back to our newscast. But in the meantime, if this were to continue to scoot down to the south and east, this is going to be a heck of a haymaker across western parts of Nicholas County in particular, and then northern portions of Fayette County. At this point, mainly north of the Anstead and Hyco areas, although it will be a close call. This will be closer toward the Lockwood area. It's a small community right there along the border. And then again, kind of following the Poe Mount Nebo corridor towards Summersville over the next 15-20 minutes or so. And let's take a little bit of a closer look with this system as we, or this supercell, as we zoom back in. Again, kind of taking a closer look at this across eastern portions of Kanawha County, at least at this point, not showing nearly as much rotation as it does head down to the south and east. So at this point, we don't have any new warnings. The tornado warning portion of the county for Fayette has been allowed to expire. So we're going to go ahead and proceed with our normally scheduled broadcast, which of course is 59 News at 6. And we will have the latest with that coming up, which is going to start right about now.
59 News at 6 begins with an alert from the StormTracker 59 Severe Weather Desk. Brought to you by C. Adam Tony Tire Pros.
Our severe weather desk is active tonight as severe thunderstorms roll through the area. Welcome to 59 News at 6. I'm Rivers Upchurch. Kaylee Forey has the night off. Let's turn it right back over to StormTracker 59 Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater, who has been keeping us abreast of the situation as strong and severe weather makes its way into our region. Joe, what have we been seeing so far, and what do we need to know right now?
Certainly already been an active evening with a storm that is up to our north and west across portions of Kanawha County, moving its way into portions of Fayette County. Now, we had a brief tornado warning for northwestern portions of Fayette County toward the Mount Olive area earlier. That has been allowed to expire, so that's some great news. But with that being said, this is still a severe thunderstorm warning. And this is nothing to mess with here. This is going to continue until about 6:30 or so here this evening for northern portions of Fayette County. This includes all the way over into parts of Nicholas County, all the way into the Summersville region. Summersville, of course, back up to the north and east. And again, if you are watching this, this is a thunderstorm that has had a history of producing golf ball size hail farther back to the north and west. If this storm means business, we are talking about more in the way of severe weather, and we'll talk about that and much more with a look at your full forecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Joe, for keeping us up to date with the latest. A beloved park is...
All righty. Good evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater cutting in just here briefly. Now, this storm is not tornado warned at this point, but this is a severe thunderstorm exiting Nicholas County into northern parts of Greenbrier County. And folks, this storm is rotating a lot here as this works its way into northern parts of Greenbrier County. So this is north of Lewisburg. We're in the clear in Lewisburg from this particular system, from this particular supercell. But this thunderstorm does continue to work its way off to the north and to the east, or excuse me, to the south and east from the north and west. And look at all the lightning. I mean, you can barely see the storm itself just because of all the lightning. We're talking 200-300 total lightning strikes with this storm as it continues to work its way off to the south and to the east. So what I'm going to do is we're going to stop and kind of put a pause to this here just for a moment and take a look at this. So we'll pop up some of the trajectory with this. And first off, we look at the rotation. I'm going to zoom in on this storm just for a moment and get a little bit of a better look. And again, this is going to be just to the south and east now of the Grassy Falls and Hominy Falls area. Where we see the rotation is in this area right in here, near the Duo area, moving toward Clearcoat. Lots of lightning. What I'm going to do actually is take the lightning off so that we can see this a little bit easier. But it's this area that is of concern at the moment, and this continues to work its way off to the south and to the east. Let's pop the radar back up. Yeah, this thing is likely going to be, I'm kind of surprised that this one is not tornado warned here at this point, to be quite honest with you. This is a strong rotation signature that's now showing up, moving into northern portions of Greenbrier County. So if you're in Quinwood, you're in the clear. If you're in Raynell, you're in the clear. If you're in Rupert, you are in the clear from this storm. However, this thing is continuing to work its way down to the south and east in through portions of Greenbrier County. Now, this is severe thunderstorm warned at this juncture. But again, we look downstream at some of these very small communities. Of course, this is a very rural area in Greenbrier County. So out toward Clearco, out toward Duo, Cordova, Oscar, Renix Valley, eventually down toward Droop Mountain. Those are the areas of concern here as this works its way down to the south and east. We're talking about big-time hail, damaging wind gusts, a ton of lightning with this storm. Now, again, this storm is not tornado warned at this time, although I kind of thinking it should be here at this point, to be quite honest with you, as it works its way down to the south and east. You can literally see this thing spinning on the radar as it does scoot down to the south and east. Now, we are not going to continue to hang on here unless this thing is warned. So what we'll do, we're going to return back to your normally scheduled broadcast. If this becomes tornado warned, we will cut back in and we will update you on the trajectory of this. And of course, in the meantime, we are planning on being live on Facebook tracking the storm. So if you'd like to do that, we invite you to check out the StormTracker 59 Facebook page, and we'll keep you updated on air and online. For now, Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater, back to your normally scheduled broadcast. All righty, good evening, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater. Just want to hop back off here. We had that tornado warning issued. So again, northern portions of Greenbrier County are now under a tornado warning. This includes the Duo and Clearco areas. This is scooting down to the south and east. Now, there are a couple of things with this particular storm that are rather alarming. We have some very large hail that is likely occurring right on the northern, I always call this kind of the northern panhandle of Greenbrier County. This is some major hail that is likely taking place with this storm as it continues to work its way down to the south and east. That will head toward the Hillsboro area in southern parts of Pocahontas County. We do not have any warnings for that portion of the storm just yet. I would expect that to happen. The rotational side of this storm is headed toward the Cordova, Renix Valley, Droop Mountain areas here over the next 15 to 20 minutes. And it's pretty easy to see where the rotation is. It is right here. That is the area of rotation and the area of greatest concern here. So as we put this into motion, you can literally watch this thing spin. I'm going to try and pop that off there. Again, there's that tornado warning that was issued just a few moments ago. I'm going to take that off the screen there. But again, this is a thunderstorm that tracked all the way from Louisville, Kentucky around 2:30, 3 o'clock this afternoon. It has made it all the way through Ohio. It has now worked its way into eastern portions of West Virginia, and this tornado warning goes until 7:15. So again, if you are in Lewisburg, you are fine. You are in the clear from this particular storm. Now, that's not to say we couldn't see more severe weather in these areas later on. If you're in White Sulphur Springs, you are in the clear. And for perspective, you guys are all the way down here, so you're not having to worry about this particular storm. Same thing over toward Anthony, for example, out toward Cornstalk. These areas are fine. Rupert, Raynell, all okay. Quinwood is a close call, but you're okay. But farther up to the north, that's the concern. Now, I have to say, just in the last couple of frames, this particular storm is starting to lose its structure just a little bit in terms of rotation. But again, this continued to work its way to the south and east and has continued to do so for quite some time now. We tracked this around 5:30 up into the capital city of Charleston, dropped a lot of hail over in Kanawha County, and then raced its way through southern parts of Clay County, into Nicholas County, extreme northern Fayette counties, and is now pushing into northern Greenbrier County. So again, you see the purples and the blacks. That's what we call the hail core of the system. That's not the area of rotation. So if you're talking about the threat for tornadoes, this is not the area. It's this part right near Cordova and right near Trout. So this would be the spot that we'd have to watch out for the potential for a rotating. And you could see, yeah, we've got a lot of rotation with this storm still. So we're going to zoom in just a little bit and show this to you. So where you see the greens and the reds, yeah, this is going to be a problem here as it works its way down to the south and east. Watch how this thing just continues to show that sign of rotation, and it's right just to the south and west of Cordova. We've got a lot of rotation showing up here on our rotation tracker. So again, this is going to be something that we're going to have to continue to watch. If you, again, are farther down to the south and east, if you're toward Droop Mountain, so of course this is getting toward the Greenbrier River. So there's Falling Spring, there's Spring Creek. So this is getting ready to cross the Greenbrier River in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And again, a lot of signs of rotation with this. I'm going to see if I can get that to at least move that out of the way a little bit. There we go. So that we can see this rotation. This is the area of concern right in here. So if we put a tracker on that, that's going to continue to and moving at about whoa, looks like we had a little bit of a hand tracker issue there. But again, this is going to be out toward the Renix Valley, the Droop, and Roar areas here over the next few minutes as this does continue to scoot off to the south and to the east. So again, folks, you got to get into your shelters here if you're in northern parts of Greenbrier County, because this is showing a lot of signs of rotation. Now, some of this is going to be broad, of course, but we don't want to take any risk with this. So if you are in a mobile home, you need as many walls between you and outside as possible. That's the best thing that you can do to help keep yourself safe. Grab a bicycle helmet if you can. Put that on your head. You gotta protect the noggin, right? That's probably the most important thing to protect, right? If you have a home, if you're in a home that has a basement, head to the basement in northern parts of Greenbrier County. Again, to emphasize, though, if you're just now tuning in, Rupert and Raynell are in the clear. Lewisburg, White Sulphur Springs are in the clear from this. It's farther up to the north, basically along the Pocahontas County, Greenbrier County border. That is the area of emphasis that is the issue with this. Let's pop the rotation back up, or excuse me, the radar presentation back up on this. So again, it's going to be right in here. There's Cordova. That's a very small community. Friars Hill, another very small community. And these are the areas of greatest concern here over the next couple of minutes. If you're in the Clearco area, you're now in the clear, so this is good. But you could see the hook indention here. We call this a bounded weak echo region, just a fancy term for anytime we have this hook presentation showing up. So likely some pretty scary clouds showing up toward Friars Hill. Eventually out toward Oscar. Again, these are really small towns. This is going to be a very close call for Falling Spring, but should stay just to your north over in those areas. And again, farther up to the north, you get up into portions of northern Greenbrier County. This is all hail that's going to be exiting northern parts of Greenbrier County. Again, I like to call this the panhandle, the northern panhandle of Greenbrier County, exiting Greenbrier County into western portions of Pocahontas County. So out toward Raintown, eventually out toward 219 there at Hillsboro, following the Greenbrier River. This is going to drop some big-time hail in those areas. So again, this is the area of greatest concern here in the near term. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hop off here just for a second and zoom back out so that we can kind of see the progression of some of these other thunderstorms that we're going to be watching very closely, because there are more thunderstorms that are back to the west. In fact, you can see this now. as I pop this off, we do have other thunderstorms that are beginning to form. That is a heck of a thunderstorm that is, for example, out toward parts of Clay County. And that is heading into portions of Nicholas County. And that is why Nicholas County currently is under severe thunderstorm warning. So we have a couple of big-time thunderstorms that are working their way kind of through the same areas, and then a couple of storms that are firing up in northern parts of Fayette County. So let's put this into motion here. And again, you can kind of see the progression of these thunderstorms. There was that storm when we started seeing that hook condition. That's why we hopped on here for just a moment. And again, that storm continuing to kind of straddle the Pocahontas, Greenbrier County line. So this is the immediate concern, and that's why we have broken into your normally scheduled broadcast here at this point. But we have this other thunderstorm that we are watching very closely, and this thing has also been spinning in eastern parts of Kanawha County, scooting through Clay County. That's literally my home turf. I was there looking for morels yesterday out in western parts of Clay County. They just got walloped by a hailstorm out there. And then that is now scooting into northern parts of Nicholas County. So from, let's say, Birch River, Harold, down toward Hookersville and Muddlety, and then down into Summersville itself. This is going to be a nasty storm in those areas. And then zooming in, these storms in northern parts of Fayette County. We'll zoom in on this here for a bit. And this is right along the Kanawha River. Right about where there in Gauley Bridge, where the Gauley River and the New River kind of come together. We've got this downpour, this thunderstorm that's beginning to build quickly right over the Boomer, the Smithers and Alloy areas, and that continues to scoot over to the east. This will be out toward Anstead in the next few minutes. So this storm also is likely going to need to be watched as it does continue to build. And one thing that you may notice while I'm talking is that these storms are kind of moving east-northeast while the supercells are moving to the south and east. And that kind of gives you an idea of the amount of wind shear that is at play with these thunderstorms. These storms are interacting with an environment where we're seeing a lot of change in wind direction with height. So at the surface, you may have noticed outside it's very windy. We're seeing a southerly breeze. It's not quite as southerly off the surface. And so that change in wind direction is what allows for these storms to begin to rotate. So again, if you're just now tuning in, the immediate concern is here in Greenbrier County with this tornado warning that is now scooting into Cordova. That is a small town there in northern parts of Greenbrier County. Close call for Falling Spring, but if you're south of Falling Spring in Greenbrier County, you are fine. And if you're west of, let's say, out toward Clearco, you're totally fine. This storm has been allowed to pass in your area. However, we do have now that severe thunderstorm warning in southern portions of Pocahontas County, including Hillsborough. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of hail in those small towns, Hillsborough and out toward Buckeye, for example. Even about as far north as Marlinton. Again, right along the Greenbrier River. This is going to be a big hail maker. And this storm has had a history of producing a lot of large hailstones. So you see the dark purple and black presentations here, and that is why we are seeing that. So real quickly, let's take a look at the overall setup here for tonight for the entire region here. So we'll switch over to links 2, and as we do so, again, here are the current warnings. We have this red slivered area, and that is a tornado warning. That goes until 7:15 for northern portions of Greenbrier County. Now keep in mind, again, our populated areas, our big-time population centers in Greenbrier County, White Sulphur Springs, right here. Nowhere near this, right? Lewisburg is right in here. Again, Lewisburg is in the clear from this storm. We get farther back to the west, out toward Raynell and Rupert, again, in the clear in these areas. So we're not having to worry about this particular storm spawning a tornado in these particular areas. However, farther up to the north toward about Falling Spring, toward Cordova, until 7:15, you're under a tornado warning. And this is not one that you want to mess with here. And the National Weather Service has allowed portions of that tornado warning to kind of shrink up here as that storm is working its way off to the east. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings for Pocahontas County. We have severe thunderstorm warnings for Nicholas County. Large hail, damaging wind gusts, a good bet, torrential downpours. And we're talking about 200 to 300 lightning strikes occurring with this single supercell. There is another supercell that is going to work its way in behind this one that's currently in Clay County. So again, we'll watch that one closely as well. But those are the current alerts. Where you see the pink, that's the severe thunderstorm watch, and that continues until 11 o'clock tonight for the entire region. As we look at a wide scope, it's a slight risk for a lot of areas, but we zoom on in, and you see that orange bullseye, right? And this is the area that we've been seeing the issues so far this evening, the enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5 for severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. We don't take these lightly. These don't happen very often. I'm working on a book on West Virginia meteorology and significant events, and we just maybe on average see about 2 enhanced risks that are issued in West Virginia by the Storm Prediction Center every year. And if my memory serves me correctly, I think the last one was in early August of last year. So that kind of gives you an idea that, we're talking about 8 months since the last time we had one of these issued. The tornado threat is highest up in our northern counties. It is not 0, but it is lower in our southern counties here as we head into tonight. That damaging wind gust threat is a huge risk here in our northern counties with these supercells that continue to race their way through the northern half of our region. The farther south you are, again, this threat lessens, but again, it's not 0. And we will see thunderstorms develop farther south later on this evening. We are not in the clear in McDowell County. We are not in the clear in Beckley. We are not in the clear in Hinton. We are not in the clear in Princeton. But for now, the immediate threats are in the northern half of our region. And then again, especially in areas now where we're starting to see a little bit of training with some of these supercell thunderstorms, we can't rule out the risk for some flash flooding because these, although they're moving very quickly, they are dropping absolutely torrential rainfall. We're talking about rainfall rates in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 inches per hour. So if it moves and covers an area for 20 to 30 minutes, you're still getting an inch or 2 of rain out of it. So that would be certainly enough to cause at least some low-lying flooding issues. You can kind of see how these thunderstorms so far have kind of trained and kind of ran over the same areas in central portions of West Virginia. We do expect the coverage to begin to drop farther south as we head later on tonight. So that's why our entire area is under that severe thunderstorm watch. And we'll zoom in here. I need to update this. I need to get this zoomed in a little bit closer. But again, at 8 o'clock, more scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up here, and these continue to work their way to the east. So we're not out of the clear yet, and that's the important thing. We need to stay aware of what's going on here this evening because of that threat persisting until about midnight tonight. And then we'll start to see some improvements taking shape here as we head toward later on. But again, the showers will then persist after midnight. We will be done with the severe threat after about 12 or so. Much colder as we head into our Tuesday morning with temperatures in the low 50s. So again, it's a tornado warning that it continues for portions of Greenbrier County. This will likely be allowed to expire actually a little bit early because the storm is almost out of the warning area. So again, we'll take a look. I'm going to zoom back out here so we can get a little bit of a wider look at everything that is going on in our region because there is kind of a lot taking shape here. And we'll switch back over to Links 1 if we can. And I want to give a shout out to our Director Bree. She's been working back there helping us out to get everything covered here as far as what we can expect. She's been allowing those monitors to be switched. We've been getting a lot of reports of some hail and things like that from some of these thunderstorms. But again, this is the broad perspective that we're looking at. And there are more thunderstorms back to the west. So you can kind of see the overall trend of how these just kind of, let me put a pause to this, how these kind of are arcing over the same area. So this will be an area where we have to watch out for some flash flooding to take place over the next couple of hours as these storms continue to work their way through. But I'm going to put this back into motion and I'll hop back up there. But if you're just now tuning in, we have been talking about this tornado warning storm in Greenbrier County. This is about to work its way out. And it looks like we've got another storm now that we're going to have to watch here real closely in the next little bit. And that is this storm over in Nicholas County. So again, a couple of storms that we're watching, not just for the threat for damaging wind gusts, but for an isolated tornado. You could see the rotation signature with this cell that is exiting Clay County and entering western portions of Nicholas County. That is in some very rural portions of Nicholas County right now. That's going to be out toward 20 Mile Creek, for example. That would eventually cross Route 19. Of course, you've got Powell Mountain. That's a great spot to do some fall viewing. So, man, if somebody happened to be out toward Powell Mountain, get in cover. But, boy, that would be some great viewing to be able to see these storms. And then, again, the big threat here in the immediate term is this tornado warning that continues to work its way out into northern parts of Nicholas County. So we'll go back and look at this. Again, in the clear along I-64, so we're fine in Lewisburg for now. We're fine in White Sulphur Springs. This is scooting by up to your north, but we continue to watch this storm work its way generally down to the south and to the east, losing its structure now, which is certainly something that we want to see. This thing was really ripping in southern portions of Nicholas County down toward the Runa area just a little bit earlier. So the focus, at least at this point, from what I can see here on our StormTracker 59 HD dual live Doppler radar, although this storm is still tornado warned in northern portions of Greenbrier County, it does not seem to have the structure that it once had. However, this storm back in the western portions of Nicholas County is starting to become quite concerning here. We're going to be watching this very closely. And let's zoom in just a little bit more on this and take a look. And we'll put the pause on this. And probably going to see some rotation, at least a little bit of rotation with this. And it doesn't look like we have too much yet, so that's certainly not a bad thing, but that's likely some very strong wind gusts out toward Route 39, out toward Lockwood, out toward Poe, Kessler's Cross Lanes, eventually out toward Summersville here in the next little bit. Going to be seeing some pretty strong wind gusts taking place. And one thing that I like to look at when we are looking at the potential for tornadic thunderstorms is what we call our rotation tracker. So this is the 1 hour loop of the accumulated rotation that we have seen. And what you'll notice is that the areas of greatest rotation, so that occurred a little bit earlier out toward Cordova. Again, keep in mind, this is not what's going on right now. This is over the last hour. So we had that impressive rotation signature that took place in northern portions of Greenbrier County earlier. Now, that is not occurring at this moment. In fact, we take a look, and yeah, this is starting to turn into more of a messy presentation. Let's try and look at this from the Blacksburg radar and see what we can see. And let's put the still some broad rotation with this. You can see the green moving, meaning that it's moving toward the radar. Of course, this is the radar scanning from Blacksburg, Virginia. Meanwhile, we still have some wind that is moving away from the radar. So this is the area of rotation, but notice this is much broader than what we were looking at just a few moments ago. Look how tight this was across north central Greenbrier County. Wow, that was really tight there for a little bit. And now is much broader as it crosses 219, as it crosses the Greenbrier River, and now starts to scoot its way toward the Neola, toward the Trainer areas. So that's out toward the Virginia border. This is going to be out toward Virginia here in the next 10 minutes or so, I'd say, 10 to 15 minutes. But yeah, wow, that was some impressive rotation from the Blacksburg radar that we were seeing out toward Duo, out toward Clearco, and again, now scooting its way into portions of Greenbrier County. I'll put the radar back up here so that we can look at that presentation once again. Very messy looking at this point. So that's something that we like to see. But again, if you know anybody that's out toward Hillsboro, that's down 219, yeah, this is a big-time hail that is taking place right along the Greenbrier-Pocahontas County border. So this is northwest of Neola, and you can see the new severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued as a result. So they'll allow, the National Weather Service is probably going to allow this tornado warning to expire here shortly. And as we watch this thunderstorm continue to head down to the south and east toward Burr, toward Trainer, toward Neola, these are all very small towns, but this is a thunderstorm that's still dropping a ton of hail. We're talking about hail that is shovelable. Shovel. I want to make sure I say that right. Shovelable, right? Using a shovel to scoop it up. Yeah, that's the kind of hail that we're looking at with this, potentially as large as golf ball size where you see that black color. And again, that is heading down to the south and to the east. So we go back up. Let's switch the radars back to the Charleston radar and take a look at this Nicholas County storm once again. And let's see what we've got going on there. Yeah, look at this. Wow, look at this. This is some big-time hail out toward Muddlety there along Route 19, out toward Hookersville. Man, this is some big hail that we're seeing now in western Nicholas County. So this is a signature. We could be talking about golf ball size or larger, exiting Clay County, moving its way into Nicholas County. Let's put the animation on this and have a look over the last few minutes here as this has worked its way to the east. Yeah, look at that presentation. This is a heck of a storm that is getting ready to cross Route 19. So if you know anybody that's traveling along Route 19, you do not want to be driving with this thunderstorm crossing. We're talking about huge hail, damaging wind gusts, and this is starting to kind of merge, right? We've got a storm that's kind of forming and kind of sucking itself up into this main storm. And anytime you've got that happening, especially with the amount of wind shear that is present today, we have to keep an eye on the risk for some brief rotations. So again, that'll be another thing that we're watching. Let's put a pause to this here and see what we've got going on farther down to the south. We were talking about that cell in Fayette County. It does continue to strengthen here, northeast of Anstead now. This is going to kind of work its way, kind of feed itself into that main supercell that's up into portions of Nicholas County. So look out once again in Mount Nebo. Look out in Deepwell here over the next 10 to 15 minutes. Perhaps some small hail with this little cell that's just north of Hyco. Probably some dark clouds showing up in Hyco, looking up to the north. And then we move a little farther down to the south. So far, we've been in decent shape, but we are starting to see some thunderstorms forming to our west of Beckley, right? So there we go. And you could see the explosive nature of these thunderstorms real quickly. So we'll put these into motion. Out across the Jeffrey area, for example, out toward Baldwin Up. Those are in Boone County. I mean, move back over. Sorry, I messed up the hand tracker there for a second. So Beckley is right here, and we're starting to see these thunderstorms flaring up back to our west. So again, we're not out of the woods in our southern counties just yet, even though we're seeing most of the activity in our northern counties right now. And yes, those are the areas that are most susceptible to seeing the issues here tonight. We're still definitely not out of the woods yet in our southern counties. So again, a lot going on all at once. And again, once this tornado warning is allowed to expire, we will be continuing talking about this over on Facebook, because as you can see, tons of activity showing up here this afternoon. And that's yet more. Look how quickly that storm in Lincoln County, for example, blew up. Watch this. Here we go, and then boom, right there. I mean, we're talking just a few minutes. These thunderstorms are flaring up. So literally in 5 minutes, we have thunderstorms that are just popping up out of nowhere due to the explosive dynamics that are present in our environment for these thunderstorms to utilize over the next couple of hours. Again, that tornado warning still persisting for about another 5 more minutes. I was checking to see if we had any reports of a funnel cloud or anything like that. It does look like, okay, so the National Weather Service, it has not updated in our software just yet, but they have expired the tornado warning. So again, that tornado warning has been allowed to expire in northeastern Greenbrier County. Now, again, we will be continuing to keep you updated, both on air if we have any tornado warnings. Hopefully we don't. But we'll also be live on Facebook tracking these. It's going to take me, give me just a few minutes to hop on there, but we will be continuing to track these severe thunderstorms as they work their way through the region. In the meantime, Chief Meteorologist Joe Fitzwater, hopefully this was some helpful information, and we'll be sure to keep you updated on air online. We'll, of course, be back at 10 o'clock on Fox. In the meantime, we welcome you back to your normally scheduled broadcast here this evening.